I was saying, is it right to say that the basic change of the past few years has actually been this shift from providers of work only to providers of services, so a more complete and more complex concept? Not really, because at first, when the law was passed, there was this possible distortion, because since it wasn't possible to use flexible work differently, or temporary work was the only possible area for companies to use flexible work. But from the very beginning, our problem was that of being aware and explaining that, first of all, we were service providers. What is true is that at the beginning, we had focused on very few services, if you like. So our focus was on recruitment mainly, on the selection, and administrative outsourcing. What happened, in my view, over the years was that we studied and enlarged or broadened the level of services. So the value of services offered has increased. So training was introduced a few years after the law on temporary work was passed, on temporary jobs. And recently, we even went further. We moved towards active policies and outplacement, so the focus on ensuring this employment continuity. And more, the topic of taking care, so to speak, of these people through the stabilization. And this is what the new law has allowed us to do so. And agencies have enlarged the number of services, because we have, it's no longer just temporary jobs, but we also focus on training and in the field of outplacement as well. So also for other candidates. So services have broadened. A question which is more psychological. Now, the way job seekers see it, in their perception, do you think something has changed? Are they more willing to follow you? So do you feel people closer to your agencies? Was it better before? Well, the situation is still developing. It's still an open game, in part because of the past and because of our legacy that dates back to the past, or a past ideology which still sees intermediation as something negative on the labor market, whereas it is an additional resource for workers. But I also must say that it is an open issue for workers, because people realize that on one hand they need to produce value seriously, on the other they need to explain this, so gain consensus not only through communication campaigns, but also by building value, something which is more substantial. But over the years, this process has been positive, and we still haven't reached our destination. This morning, Scabio and Scarpetta mentioned what the Renzi government is doing on the labor market, the so-called Jobs Act, which still needs to be completed. So I would like to ask you a question. Do you like it? And if yes, why? I want to explain why I like it. I mean, I like it because I think that the Jobs Act at last has done something that nobody has ever had the courage to do before. Now, first of all, for the part that has already been passed, what is essential is this contract with a growing protection, so greater flexibilization of the open-ended contract. Now, there are lots of people coming from other countries. Can you please explain it simply, in simple terms? So basically today, after passing this law, when a company recruits somebody with an open-ended contract, it can discontinue the contract by paying a cost, the severance cost, which is transparent, known to all parties, without the uncertainty of an external judgment which characterized the previous situation. So before this law, when a company fired a worker, or there was no real certainty of what would happen, even if this firing system obviously followed specific rules. I'm not talking about discrimination or law infringement. Today we have a contract that allows this flexibility, which is regulated. It's not, I mean, it's not easy, but it's transparent in its contents. In addition, the permanent contract is also characterized by reduction of social security for the first 3 years. So workers recruited in 2015 have 8,000 euros a year of a decontribution, and a decision was taken to reduce the tax impact by deducing it from the income tax called IRAP in Italy, and so reducing the impact on labor cost by 2.5%. All this, obviously, is already motivating companies to use the open-ended contract. So the situation is more rebalanced. And it is also providing incentives to agencies to use this contract for the best part of their workers. So when we work through agencies, we are no longer obliged to recruit with permanent contractors. So these agencies recruit people with an open-ended contract, and in my view, this is the true value of the agency. So, social support mechanism. So there's this combination between flexibility for the companies and security for workers. So an open-ended contract means also being involved with training, the development of the professional development, vocational training, including young people. We saw the situation from the point of view of unemployment. It means including young people, motivating them, stimulating them, and getting them to have competencies and skills, so making them employable. So in the future, they will be included in professional processes. So this combination is certainly very interesting. Another important innovation is this outplacement contract, because companies may fire more easily, but people who lose their job are helped 100% by a public voucher system that can be spent on systems that can help them find another job. So public centers are involved and private agencies as well. And all this is based on a rewarding system, so money will be given to the private agencies only if they achieve the specific result, so the outplacement. And the system is extremely positive. However, it still needs to be implemented. We are still waiting for this new law to be adopted, and this is probably the final obstacle. So this is a system. We have a system where, on one hand, we have the state that applies rules, and then local administrations that find it difficult to adopt the rules. So how this system will be adopted, well, we still don't know. And what about the relationship between you, private agencies, and the public structures, the public organizations dealing with employment? The public organizations in Italy are very few and not too effective. The private services are new, so they still have to prove that they can perform their duties. Because the topic of outplacement is a new topic. So this is a challenge for us. So what you said was important. The law establishes a reward if you achieve results. And we also have interesting experiences or pilot studies. The one in the Lombardy region that will be mentioned today or tomorrow, where a competitive model was adopted. Very interesting. So people are followed through a website, and they are given a voucher by the public organizations, and for the outplacement they can be managed by established public and private bodies. And the voucher is, so this is the real system that can truly help. As Dr. Scarpetta said before, it can really involve the private sector and the public sector as well, because we need both. We need both public and private organizations, but obviously we need to achieve results. Alongside your experience in the company, you are frequently in touch with international companies. You work in Asia, United States. So what is the difference, in your view, between what is happening in Italy and what happens in other countries? This is a very broad question. I would like to talk about the legislation mainly, because I think it is what matters. So we have, in Europe, we have a European directive which liberalized work through agencies, and there were limits to the open-ended contracts, because we recognize the importance of the growth of the need of flexibility in companies. But on the other side, we want to avoid this need for flexibility to turn it into precarious work. So we think that the fact that agencies may play this role, this active role, also means protection of the worker, allowing companies to keep the flexibility. So the EU directive pushed countries to remove these limitations, but on the other hand, they transpose the equal pay as a guiding principle in the management of the worker. So what we noticed is that in European countries in particular, the equal pay was transposed very quickly, but there was a certain resistance from certain governments to liberalize the work through agencies. In Italy, something different happened. So maybe we started from a very rigid system, a regulated system with lots of constraints, but this allowed agencies to play differently. So the bad practices are outside the sector. So this means that social partners are actually accepting gradually the higher cost of this greater quality, but at the same time, they also push for this quality to have certain advantages. The latest decree that should be issued concerning the Jobs Act should have a strong limitation regarding borderline contracts, so a stronger concentration on temporary work and work through agencies. And in developing countries, for example, such as India, Brazil, China, Russia, that are still quite deregulated. So what I would like to say is that we're always very careful about limiting rules or certain rules that sometimes may suffocate temporary work. But what I notice often is that there's nothing worse in our sector that offers sophisticated services of a totally deregulated market. So our worst enemy is totally deregulation. Then, of course, there are other cases. So between no rules and too many rules, well, we prefer few rules but clear and effective. And I suppose in this respect, at the national and international level, you will probably act with lobbying activities. So Asso Lavoro is working a lot in this respect, and truly effective work, considering the fact that it has very few members, because its members in Italy are about 100. So although it is an association with a few number of members, it is really very, very precious for the sector, but in particular supporting the development of the entire labor market. And I think it really has given a huge contribution. And you have approximately 100 members, and there are lots of companies in Italy that come to you. Over 200,000, if I'm not mistaken. Nearly all. 1,200,000 contracts a year with 500,000 people. So this means that basically one person who works for you deals with a couple of contracts a year on average. Is that correct? We have this very strong competition of the market. I mean, the 60% we saw before. The non-regulated market. So we hope that from this new regulations, we will have growing penetration. And in Italy, this means 1.3%. Through agencies, through employment services, and we would like to reach 2.5%, which is rather typical of countries similar to Italy. It's more or less similar to other averages. When you were saying, you were talking about countries which are less regulated, you mentioned China, Brazil, Russia. These are also the most interesting markets, or not? Well, obviously they are developing markets. As a company, we still focus on larger companies, and currently Europe is our market of reference. To us, first of all, we want to really consolidate the experience. I think it's you.
No,
ugly. No, you're not ugly. It's just a drawing. And then let's say this, well, Anne-Marie, quite honestly, has has been considered more fairly. And we were talking about markets, the most interesting markets. Now we still see Europe as our primary market of interest. The second step, since we work with multinationals, corporate companies, the next step, as I said, will be that of going to the States, because, of course, there is still the majority of the business concerning multinationals at a global level. And then the Far East and Latin America are interesting markets to be developed, to be further developed, since they are younger. They can grow more gradually, and rules may gradually increase. So, rules and companies. Now, another couple of questions. In this international scenario, Ciett, what could be the role of Ciett? Well, Ciett plays a key role. Let's not forget that in Italy, the law on temporary work was decided because there was a company that sued Italy and was supported by Ciett. So our activity in our country with our association normally is strongly supported by a broader environment that helps us share best practices, strengthen the content and also the proposal towards governments. Because if a proposal is actually supported by an association with a European and international presence, well, this is certainly crucial. I think there are some countries in particular that require a much stronger intervention from Ciett in the world. And for the countries I see, well, Brazil, we're not talking about deregulation, but we're talking about excessive regulations. And there's a country with huge potentials where there are strong limitations, so it's very difficult for us to find openings. And then there are other countries such as India, Russia, Turkey, where there are extraordinary potentials, where there is still a need to contribute to the market education, where a greater regulation and a greater contribution of Ciett would certainly help. And last but not least, I think that considering that the main players, including us, consider their services as integrated services in this diversification, because we're talking about services not only for temporary work, but also in training, recruitment, outplacement, and so on and so forth. So I think this development of Ciett, of extending the range of activity, all this is very appropriate, not only to agency work, but also to other services which characterize the activity of these players. So, in summary, with a short slogan, we could say, let's explain that you are very important in this game, so continuity of an income and rights for all the people who are involved. I think one of the key points is this role in flexicurity, so the possibility of combining actively flexibility for companies with the construction of value. We spoke about young people and all the work that can be done to re-include these youngsters in the labor market, to motivate them, to help them gain competencies and skills, using the market, the flexibility market, which is growing, and then And this would really give us more opportunities to create value on the labor market, without forgetting that there are different levels. Martin was talking about talents. It was a more general concept. It was applied to management, but there is this big question mark. It is a key challenge represented by who defines a talent, what is the method, the judgment method to define what a talent is. So once we've found this understanding, we must also understand that I'm offering you this talent which is recognized as such. And something which is very interesting, which is happening in Italy just now, is that since agencies are more involved, and they are the ones who will have to support the placement of people who are jobless. Well, the management of flexibility focuses more and more on the agencies, and this really feeds this circuit of inclusion and placement of the candidate, ensuring this continuity, this work continuity in a more flexible environment. And I think this is my hope, and the hope that is really essential. There's one essential. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you? Well, lots, but thank you so much. Thank you for the interview. Thank you.